Hey everyone. Alright, today's video is going to be over how to write inequalities. So your objective, I will be able to write an inequality that represents a life scenario. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about what keywords you want to look for that are going to help you decide what inequality symbol you're going to use to solve a problem. So anything that requires a greater than symbol, this is pretty simple. You're going to see more than, over, or exceeds. So anything that just means greater than, you're going to use your greater than symbol. Less than, you may literally see the words less than. You could say something is under, something is fewer, something is below. So these two are pretty simple to identify. Now it can get a little tricky if we need to use greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So greater than or equal to, you might see at least or at minimum. Okay? Now these words might seem like the opposite of what we would need, but let's talk about what they mean. Think about at least. If you go to an amusement park and they say that you have to be at least 4 feet to ride a certain roller coaster, that means that you have to be greater than or equal to 4 feet. So you must be 4 feet or above to be able to ride that roller coaster. If you see at minimum, that's saying, well, the smallest amount would be this number, and it's just going to go up from there. So the same thing for less than or equal to, you're going to see something like at most, no more than, maximum. So if you go into a restaurant and you see a maximum capacity sign of, let's say, 450 people, that means that this restaurant can hold 450 people, but no more than that. So it would have to be less than or equal to 450. So whenever we see a word problem with inequalities, the first thing that we want to do is define the variable. Then we want to write the expression or expressions. Okay, so we may see a word problem that requires us to write a variable on each side. We're going to choose the inequality symbol. Then we're going to write the inequality. We will solve and check. And since we have a word problem, we want to answer it in a complete sentence. Alright, example 1. Joan needed $100 to buy a graphing calculator for her math class. Her neighbor will pay her $5 per hour to babysit, and her father gave her $10 for mowing the lawn. What is the minimum amount of hours she will need to babysit in order to buy her calculator? So first, let's identify the variable. It says, what is the minimum amount of hours? So since we are looking for hours, I'm going to use an H to represent that. Now I want to look for a number that's going to be multiplied by the number of hours. So if I look back in the problem, I see that her neighbor's going to pay her $5 per hour to babysit. So that would be 5H. Then it says her father gave her $10 for mowing the lawn. So that means whatever she makes babysitting, we're going to add $10 to that because she already has that amount saved up. We know that in total she's going to need $100. So I'm going to go ahead and put the 100 on the other side. Now we need to decide what our inequality symbol is. Well, she can't buy a calculator with less than 100. She could buy a calculator with more than 100. And it could be equal to 100. So she needs greater than or equal to $100 so that she can buy that calculator. So we're going to use the greater than or equal to sign. Also, we see minimum. So the minimum means the smallest amount she could use to buy that calculator is $100. So it's going to have to be $100 or more. Alright, so let's go ahead and solve this inequality. So I'm going to separate the left and right sides. I am going to carry down the symbol, and I'm going to cancel the constant. So we would subtract 10, that would be our inverse operation, and we get 90, and we're left with 5H. Now I'm going to cancel the coefficient and divide by a positive 5. Since I'm dividing by a positive, I get to keep the symbol the same. And 90 divided by 5 is 18. So, as of now, we're saying that she needs to babysit for at least 18 hours if she's going to buy this calculator. Let's go ahead and check it just in case. So if she, let's say she works 20 hours, that's greater than 18. So if we have 5 times 20 plus 10, that should be greater than or equal to 100. Well, 5 times 20 is 100, plus 10 is 110. 110 is greater than or equal to 100. Specifically, 110 is greater than 100, so we know that our solution makes sense. If we were to graph this, we have 18, and I'm going to fill in a couple of numbers around that, and I would have a closed circle, and it would be shaded to the right. Take a moment to pause and write down your answer in a sentence. So for example, if I were to write a sentence, I would say, Joan needs to babysit 18 hours or more so that she can buy her calculator. All right, example 2. Cab A charges $20 plus $4.50 for every mile. Cab B charges $10 and $8 for every mile. After how many miles will cab A cost less than cab B? So in this problem, we have two different situations going on. We have cab A who charges a certain amount, and we have cab B that charges a certain amount. So let's create expressions to represent these situations. So we have cab A and we have cab B. So it says that cab A charges $20 plus $4.50 for every mile. So that would be 20 plus, and if it's $4.50 for every mile, we are multiplying. Now, the final question is asking about how many miles we'll have, so I'm going to use an M for the variable. So for cab A, if it's $4.50 for every mile, that would be $4.50 times the number of miles, so 450 M. Now cab B charges $10 and $8 for every mile. So they would charge 10 plus $8 per mile. Now I want an inequality symbol. In the question it says, after how many miles will cab A cost less than cab B? So I want cab A to cost less than cab B. And now we can go ahead and solve it from here. So I'm going to separate the left and right sides. And now I want to cancel one of the terms that has a variable. I am going to choose this one because the coefficient is smaller. So I'm going to subtract 450 from each side. I'm going to carry down the symbol. This is a zero pair, but I'm left with 20. I'm going to carry down the 10, and then 8 minus 450 would be 350. Again, I'm going to separate the left and right sides, carry down the symbol. I want to cancel the constant, so I'm going to subtract 10. That's a zero pair. Oh, I forgot to carry down the variable. Sorry about that. So then 10 is less than 350 times M. Now, I'm going to have to divide by 350 on each side, and I apologize, it's a little squished. And since this is positive, I know my symbol's not going to change, so I'm going to go ahead and write the answer to this up here. So I have 10 divided by 350, and if you divide that out, you are going to get a decimal. You are going to get a decimal that does not end. So I am going to round it to the nearest hundredths place since we are dealing with money. So that would be $2.86. So I'm going to put 2.86, and that's going to be less than M. Now we want the variable on the left, so I'm going to rewrite this. So as we can see here, the miles are greater than 2.86. So I want to make sure that M is greater than 2.86. And I did just make a mistake there. I said that this was money. It's not money, it's representing miles, but I'm going to go ahead and round it to the hundredths place. Okay, if I were to check this, then I want a number that is going to be greater than 2.86. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use a 4. So if I were to check, then 20 plus 450 times 4 should be less than 10 plus 8 times 4. And again, this is a little squished, so I apologize for that. So I am going to have 20 plus, and that would be 18, should be less than 10 plus 32. So then this would be 38. This would be 42. 38 is less than 42, so we know that our answer is correct. And if I were to graph it, from 2 to 3, 2.86 would be closer to 3. So I would have an open circle and it would be shaded to the right. All right, go ahead and take a moment to pause and write down a sentence as your answer. For example, I would say for cab A to cost less than cab B, the cabs would have to drive more than 2.86 miles. All right, now it is time for you to try. So make sure that you create your inequality, solve, check it and graph it, and put your answer in a complete sentence. All right, we will see you next class day.